all about your DMU future. My name is Leanne and I'm from the DMU Communications team, and I'll be your host for this session today. So your DMU Future is our new and exciting offer of a blended learning experience for the next academic year beginning in autumn 2020. We're very happy that you're joining us today, and I really do hope that your week is going well so far. And please let us know if you're here today with us and say hello in the comments, because we'd love to chat to you there as well. So we've got a few speakers on our lovely panel today who can provide a lot of detail about the Your DMU Future offer. We will have a 10 to 15 minute talk all about Your DMU Future, followed by a question and answer session. So if anything comes to mind during the talk, do submit your questions in the comments and we'll answer them later in the stream for you. So we'll go around now for a few introductions so you can get to know everyone before we get started. I'll first hand over to you, Jackie.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie Lobby, and I'm Pro Vice Chancellor Academic at DMU, which means I look after everything to do with your education. And I will hand over to Dave.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Parks. I'm the Director of Library and Learning Services. So thank you. Good to see you.
Hi everyone, my name is Umesh Desai, I'm Director of Estates and Facilities, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have on the actual campus you may be studying at. And now I'll pass you on to Pete.
Hi everyone, Pete Norman, I'm Head of Infrastructure and I work for the IT and Media Services Department, and that covers everything around the desktop and printing and AV loans experience that you'll have at the university.
Hi, my name's Neve. I'm a third year student. I've just done my degree in drama, so I'll be here to talk about anything student related.
Thank you very much, everybody. So now we're going to get started with our presentation all about your DMU Future. So I'll hand over back to you, Jackie.
Thanks, Leanne. So I'm going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes. I've got some prepared remarks to make sure I remember to tell you all the important stuff. And then we'll go to the live Q&A. So if you continue to submit the comments while I'm speaking, we will get to them. We're not ignoring them, and we will answer as many of them as we possibly can over the course of the next 15 minutes or so. So thank you so much for coming along to this live stream. As I said, my name is Jackie Lobby, and I'm Pro Vice Chancellor Academic here at DMU. I'm really glad to see that you're staying positive about your future and about choosing university, which is really where we want you to be. We're very positive about your future too, and that's what I'm going to talk through with you for the next 10 minutes or so. So as you've heard, I'm with friends from across DMU who represent some of the really important areas that contribute to your education, so the library, the States, which means the physical space of the campus while you're with us, the IT service and media support service, and also, most importantly, a student. And not only a student, but a student who has just finished her degree, and congratulations to Neve for that. So let's talk just a little bit then about your DMU future. So really, these last few months have been something else. And I think for all of us, I'm going to try to avoid using the word unprecedented. Hopefully I won't say it again, but they have been very, very challenging. And not just for those who live in Leicester, but for everywhere. But it really does pay to look towards the future and to look towards your future. So things have really been so uncertain. All of our lives have been so disrupted, but it will get better. And we want to be a part of that with you. So your DMU Future is our response to the challenges of 2020. It's our commitment to ensure that you get the extra help that you need with your life, work, and study by connecting safe campus living, quality teaching, one-to-one time with our academics, and an overall great student experience. So here's our promise, the overarching promise to you, that all DMU students will receive quality live teaching regularly, either online or in person. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a minute. So as Pro Vice Chancellor Academic, it's my responsibility to make sure of this and to help develop the support systems that DMU students deserve to ensure that you can learn in the most effective way possible. So we've been working to create an enhanced package of online resources, including one-to-one study and writing support, and will help you quickly to become confident in those areas. You'll feel at home and among friends. Safe accommodation is available for students from September, and Umesh will be able to answer any questions you might have about accommodation. You will get an on-campus experience. we're modifying all our facilities, our teaching rooms, libraries, our eating and social spaces, so they're as safe as possible for you to use. And your university life will be fun. Our teams and societies are staying active, accessible, and welcoming, and it may be that Nave will be able to tell you a little bit more about that as well. And once you're in Leicester, you'll be able to meet, make friends, and discover our home city safely. Now, of course, we all know that at the moment, Leicester is in a local lockdown. This isn't going to last forever. A lot of work's being done to address it, and your safety being our first priority, we will ensure that once we start, that will never leave our minds. So the Leicester lockdown is meant to be lifted on the 18th of July, and we very much hope that it will be. The whole city is taking sensible, preventable measures to make sure that we're as safe as possible. As I said, will remain so when you arrive. But here at DMU, we've already been putting into place a number of measures in line with national guidelines to make sure our campus is also as safe as possible for you when our term begins on the 5th of October. These ensure that we can properly observe physical distancing requirements and help prevent the spread of infection once we're all together again. So once you're on campus, you'll get support in adjusting to your new life. Your DMU Future prioritizes your health and well-being. And as a DMU student, you'll also have access to 5 different mentoring schemes depending on your needs. And these are peer mentoring schemes where you can join up with other students who maybe have been at DMU already, learn the ropes, learn about the place, and get the kinds of insights you need. So let me tell you just a little bit about the teaching and learning that we have been developing for you. We're working really hard to make sure that we can provide you with a high-quality teaching and learning experience in the safest way possible. So what we're giving you is a flexible, blended approach, which will feature a mix of both online and face-to-face teaching. And when I say face-to-face, I mean on campus, so where we're actually together in the same physical space. Every student will receive regular live learning in your modules. This will be provided either online or where it is safe to do so face-to-face. And for most students, it's going to be a blend of those two things, and hence we talk about blended learning. We also know that you'll need our support more than ever, so there will also be plenty of enhanced study and technical support to ensure you have all the tools that you need to excel, no matter your level of ability. So what we're also doing is preparing a complete set of advice and guidance about learning in a blended environment, and this will be ready for you well ahead of the start of term. And this will include a kind of introductory module about what you can expect and how to pull together the kinds of learning that you'll be doing in our blended environment. So this blend of online and face-to-face learning ensures that you receive the high-quality education experience that you expect while still engaging with your peers and lecturers. And this also follows our special pedagogical approach called Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, which you'll hear a lot about when you're with us. And what this means is that our teaching takes a very personalized approach, a very individualized approach, thinking about our students as individuals and in need of individualized educational experience. So it offers flexible ways of learning, multiple modes of assessment, and multiple study resources. So another thing that we're doing is working to ensure that you will be able to receive virtual access to computer labs and specialist software in cases where physical access to labs isn't possible or has to be limited because of social distancing. And we're also striving to provide other teaching content, such as practical and lab-based sessions, seminars, workshops, and tutorials face-to-face as much as possible within the constraints of physical distancing. Our technologies are going to help you make the most of your learning online, and you will receive all the support that you need to get started with this. Some of your teaching will be pre-recorded and available through DMU Replay, which gives you anytime and repeated access to audio-visual content. This will allow you to learn in a way that suits you and in your own time, and means you can go back to watch your lectures as often as you want. So when we talk about pre-recorded lectures, this is just one form of teaching, and this is the only form of teaching that will be pre-recorded, the lecture format. So since lectures are only one of the various forms of teaching you'll receive, you want to think about what are the other kinds of teaching will be available. All this other teaching will be live, either online or on campus, and we'll provide you with campus-based teaching as much as we can while observing social distancing for your safety. Your live online teaching will make use of our virtual learning environment, which is called Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and also Microsoft Teams. For both of these platforms, we'll provide you with training and guidance to make sure that you can get the most out of your learning. There's a lot of other support that we're developing to address your teaching and learning needs. So our library and learning services are working on an enhanced package of support and online resources for all requirements and levels of ability. And Dave will be able to say more about that if you'd like. We've got a suite of updated and redesigned learning technologies guides, which will support you to use Blackboard, DMU Replay, and Microsoft Teams confidently. You can access and learn how to use Microsoft 365 Office and study support software through the new Digital Student Skills Hub. One example is mind mapping and note-taking software that aids brainstorming, formulating, and structuring of your written assignments and presentations. And if you need further support, our library live chat sessions will give you the chance to ask for help. There will also be faculty-specific online resources that will help you in using assistive technology. And the Computer Skills 101 online workshop is aimed at students who are beginners at using computers in Windows 10. We also offer effective literature searching that makes the best use of books and other library resources. And our library will be open and it will be accessible, even though we will have to institute the social distancing guidelines in the library. We'll help you follow good academic practice by citing and referencing appropriately. And you can access your resources for your course both online and in print. We'll also support your learning of new academic skills for your assignments, whether that is about writing, referencing, or whatever. And we'll support your learning of maths and stats if you need that for your course. And as I said, there are mentoring opportunities as well to support your learning and development. So overall, basically, the message is that you are welcome here, and you're welcome here now. Your DMU Future means that we're ready to welcome you into our inclusive, supportive community, and that is starting now. You can join the conversation straight away through our Applying to DMU 2020 Facebook group, Instagram Q&As, and across social media. These are great ways to hear what other DMU students and their families are saying and planning. And we have a really exciting DMU community event coming up on July 24th, a big night in, and you'll find out more details about that soon. So remember, your DMU Future is designed for you. It's a way forward after too long being on hold. And finally, just a couple of more things just from me. It's time to be confident and step forward. Your DMU Future will help you to do that. The start of each academic year is important. In 2020, it will be extraordinary. But like you, we think it should be an exciting time of new friendships in new surroundings. Everyone at DMU understands completely what a significant year this is for you, and we're excited to share it with you. So your DMU Future is there waiting for you, and we'll be there with you at every step. Coming to DMU, then, is your first step to reaching your future self, and this is what your DMU Future is all about. So I hope you will want to know more now, and now is the time to ask. So we do have a panel of experts here, and we're ready to answer your questions. So I'll turn back to Leanne and ask you what's up next. What's up first?
Thank you so much for that, Jackie, and telling us more about the Your DMU Future offer. So we're now moving on to the Q&A, and the questions will pop up at the screen just there, like that one from Alison. And it says, I'm really confused about whether students are moving into student accommodation in September or whether they are meant to stay at home. Is that one for you, Umesh?
It is. Thank you very much, Anne. So it's up to you. It's a choice for students to make. They're more than welcome to stay at home, but we have got student accommodation on our campus that we're expecting students to arrive and stay in our accommodation. All accommodation that we have will be signposted and ready for students and will be safe and compliant. So please look onto our website, on our accommodation website, to look at the different types of accommodation that we have on offer, and different taste points you might need, whether it's a studio or a single bed sit. But yes, students will be expected to come on campus and stay in student accommodation. But if you choose to stay at home, that's absolutely fine as well.
Thank you very much.
Leanne, do you mind if I add a little bit to that as well?
Go for it.
Yeah. So when we're talking about our blended offer, and that some will be online and some will be face-to-face, it's really important that you are able to attend those face-to-face sessions, because a lot of really important learning will go on in those sessions. And while we do want to make sure that we have virtual versions of those sessions available for those students who, for reasons of health or sometimes of travel or possibly even not being able to get back into this country, we do want to have those virtual versions available for them. They will only be virtual versions. They won't be exactly the same as being in class or in the lab or in the studio. And so the expectation really is that if there's face-to-face teaching for you, that you will be here to take it up.
Thank you very much. Right, now should we go to the next question? Thank you. So this one's from Bradley Mason. So will lectures go ahead if they are in small groups, or will lectures be online and certain seminars and labs in person? Is that one for you, Jackie?
Yeah, I think I'll take that one up. So basically, a lecture is almost by definition a large group form of learning. So it's typically the kind of thing where you would have lots of students, usually more than 100 students, in a larger room, and learning the kind of information that will then help you prepare to work with that information in smaller group teaching a little bit later. So these are the kinds of things that we are putting online and that we're pre-recording. And what that means is that we can then use our estate and use our rooms in a lot more creative way to make sure that the small group teaching that we still want to be able to do can go on a little bit more effectively, and we can use our rooms across the board. So the lectures will be pre-recorded and online. Seminars, labs, studios, workshops will be offered to you either in an online live format, which means it'll be interactive and timetabled at a certain time each week, or actually face-to-face and on campus. Maybe Neve would like to say something about that as well, since she's had a little bit of experience of that, I think, during the previous lockdown period.
Yeah, so it can be very daunting. It can be a very daunting experience to think how it's going online, especially if you've not experienced it before. But honestly, it will be okay. I promise you on that. So during the lockdown, I've had to do a lot of my studies on Zoom, and sometimes through Skype as well. So for example, when we had lectures, we would have the teacher who holds a Zoom call, and we would all participate through that. And the main difference is it's all online, and they tend to share the screen. So in a lecture, you would usually have like a PowerPoint, for example, which the lecturer would speak through. But now instead, they just share the screen. And if you have any questions, you can like raise your hand on a little icon on the computer, and you talk that way. It is pretty much the same as being there, but instead you're at home. And this comes also with benefits. If you think of it, you don't have to be inside. You can be where you're comfortable. You can be at home in your bedroom. It's different. It's very different, but it does work just as effectively. And another thing is, what I found, I'm not sure if it will be the same next year, but we don't have seminars anymore. We had like individual one-to-ones. So, for example, the lecturers are very, very accompanying on your needs. So if you're a bit worried about a topic, or you're a bit worried about an essay you've got to write, they're happy to just set up meetings with you. I had so many meetings on Skype where the lecturer would ring me up and we would talk through our problems. And if technology is an issue, because sometimes it is, they're happy to just ring you on the phone. So the lecturers are so nice with the situation that we're in, that they're happy to just make sure that us as students are happy and comfortable as well.
Thanks for that, Nave. And I just want to add to that, it's really important to hear that kind of experience when we were in that sort of emergency lockdown and we had to put everything online. We're thinking about the coming academic year. Again, we're thinking about this blended offer where it's partly online, partly in person. So being on campus for those in-person teaching sessions will be really important, and we will be able again to offer seminars, workshops, etc., in a way that we couldn't when we first had to go into that big emergency lockdown. But I'm so glad to hear Nave say about how supportive her lecturers are, because this is my experience as well. They want to help you in your learning. They want to make sure that you're comfortable in the different kinds of learning that we'll be looking at in the coming year, and they're really always there to answer your questions.
That's lovely, thank you. It's so good to hear that we've offered such a good experience with online learning at DMU as well. So shall we have a look at the next question? So this is from Patricia Rees. It's an international European student that will be in student accommodation. Can they do the mandatory quarantine in the student accommodation? So I guess that's one for you as well, Umesh?
It is, yes. Thank you very much. Absolutely. The answer is, short answer is, we are working with certainly with our providers and accommodation providers that we have. We'll provide you with that 2-week quarantine period. As you'll be aware, the government is changing the list which are still under quarantine on a regular basis, and there's more countries that have been released from that list on a weekly basis. So we don't really know where we are going to be when it comes to sort of October time. But certainly, if you are one of those countries which still requires students to be quarantined, then they can be, providing you book through our accommodation office, through one of our halls. We'll provide that accommodation at no charge to yourselves at all for those 2 weeks.
Thank you very much, Umesh, for your answer there. So should we go to the next question? So Raina says, greetings all. I'm interested to find out if library resources such as books which haven't been available electronically up until now will be available online, and librarian will also be able to speak/live chat with for further assistance. So I think that's one for you, David.
It is indeed. Thank you. Yeah, great question. As a student at DMU, you'll have access to over 1 million ebooks, a phenomenal amount of content available, not just through books, but through journals, films, media, all kinds of digital content that's available to you, as well as access to all the print books in the collection and the print journals, over 350,000 books in the library itself. As well as that, you'll have access to things like special collections, which are rare books and rare artifacts, which date back to around about the 15th century. So a huge array of content that you'll have access to. But you'll not only just have access to that content, you'll have people to help you find that content, use that content in your academic studies. And that's the learning services side of it. So you'll have a librarian who will be on hand to live chat, and you can do that right now. Actually make contact with the librarians. There's a live chat function on our website. But you'll also have access to people like tutors, academic skills tutors, people who can help you with your academic writing, people who can help you with maths and stats. So any aspect of your learning, there's a group of people who can support you, not only before you arrive, but also right throughout your academic career with DMU.
Thank you very much for your answer there. 350,000 books. That is a big library.
It is very big.
On to the next question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's from Francesca Morris. And will there still be practical sessions for nursing? I know a lot of the course is set in the labs. Who's able to answer this one?
I'll have a go at it. I can speak in general terms. So in general, we're trying very hard to make sure that all of our courses that have a practical or applied element that require access to labs or to studios or workshops are really prioritized as we think about the best use of our campus space. So there is a lot of work going in to make sure that students who require that kind of learning will be able to get that kind of learning. But I also know that there will be faculty-based live streams, and that's the perfect place to go and ask that kind of question, because then you can get the specific answer directly from those who are part of those programs. So I'd really encourage you to pick that up for the health and life sciences faculty live stream, and then you'll be able to get the exact right answer.
Thank you, Jackie. Now on to the next question. Okay, so this one says, I'm really confused about online teaching. We used to interact with our lecturers in class, which we are more conversant with. We left our country and now find ourselves with online lecturers, making it unfavourable for us to cope with. Is that one for you as well, Jackie?
Yes, I'll try. So, yeah, I really sympathize. It is a really confusing period of time, and trying to factor in a lot of these changes in what it means to live your life as well as to gain your education. So what I would really want to reassure you is that interaction with lecturers is still going to be there. It'll just be there in a slightly different format. So the live kind of teaching that you'll get in the online live teaching, there will be a capacity there for interactive, for Q&A, for conversations. And I think Nave was also describing that in the online teaching that that she was having. Might want to say a little bit more about that as well. But there's also going to be opportunities to have one-to-one chats with, say, your personal tutors or your module leaders. That would be by appointment, so you would sign up to have that kind of conversation with them. Sometimes it might be able to be face-to-face on campus. More often it might be in this kind of format where you're talking one-to-one online, but we want to make absolutely sure that you always have that opportunity for that kind of what we call sort of the more social learning, where it's not just you sitting passively receiving something that has been pre-recorded, but we've got a lot of that give and take, and try to recreate as much as we possibly can that kind of conversational tone in the online atmosphere. But definitely in the kind of face-to-face on-campus teaching, that sort of interaction will still be a part of it. But Nave maybe as well.
Yeah, so in addition to that, like you said, it is a very confusing time and it will be different to get used to. But when you're using your online resources, it is a lot easier than you think. It can be scary, it can be daunting, but when you're actually doing it, it just feel like real life. You can Skype them, you can talk to them like normal. It's like you're in the room with them. Just like a normal video call, if you have a question, they're happy to answer anything for you. And they can still show you resources. For example, if you're stuck on something and they have books that they want to recommend you, they'll still do that. They can send you the links to things as well. So everything is pretty much similar and everything will be okay. It's just something new to get used to, but you'll be okay, I promise. Trust me, you'll be okay.
Thank you both, Neve and Jackie, for answering that question for us. Okay, so the next one is from Bradley Mason. If/when we are able to go, let me just start that again, I can't read today. When we are to go back into a national lockdown, will we have to return home or be able to stay in our accommodation in Leicester? Can I pass that one to you, Umesh?
Yes, absolutely, no problems. As we found in early this year when we had the national lockdown, we will wait for government guidance. Initially, the government guidance allowed students to go back, then they required them to stay on campus. So we don't quite know exactly what they're going to do, but either way, we will be here to help and facilitate whichever way the government guidance comes back. So it's reliant on the national information that comes out at the time. If they ask students to go home, that's fine. If they ask students to stay on campus, then we'll make sure there's provision there for them as well.
Thank you, Umesh, for answering that question for us. Okay, this one's from Niall Walker. So again, in terms of student accommodation, I'll be coming back to you, Umesh, in a second.
No problem.
In 2021, is it just the first year you could stay in accommodation or can it continue into further years?
Absolutely can continue to further years. What we are finding over the last 3 or 4 years now, more and more students are deciding staying in student accommodation in years 2 and 3 or year 4 if that's the case. But certainly it's not just only for first years. There are enough student accommodation beds available in the city around that campus for second and third year students as well.
That's great. Thank you for that one. Okay, so this question is from Nick and it says, will master's students get the same level of support as undergrads? I'll come to you for that one, Jackie.
Yes, thanks. Absolutely. Basically, all our taught students get the same level of support as all the rest of our taught students. So we know that this kind of disruption that we're facing will hit master's students as hard as it's going to hit undergrads. We're very well aware that our master's students do sometimes have slightly different requirements due to the nature of the course that they're taking or the nature of the fact that they tend to be slightly different demographic, quite often a little bit older maybe than our undergraduates, though not exclusively. But the broad answer is absolutely yes. And all through the last few months and as we plan for the coming academic year, it is about both the undergraduate and the master's student experience.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jackie. Okay, so we've got another question here. So I'm worried I won't have all of the IT software to study effectively. How will you support me with this? So can I pass over to you, Pete, for that one?
Yes, happy to take that call. So when we went into the lockdown situation, we obviously closed down the campus and we didn't have any mechanisms in place to allow access from students to remote into the university to to have access to all the software to support their studies. We're currently working on the solution that we'll have in place for September. So for the next academic year, we will have virtual availability of all of the lab software. So from every student working from home with their own equipment will be able to remote into a lab and get the full experience of all of the software that's available in that lab. And all the help and support will be there in terms of guidance and to how to use the services that we will present.
Thank you, Pete, for answering that one for us.
And maybe I'll add just a little bit to that as well. So this is thinking about more broadly what it means to study in this kind of blended environment and use these different forms of technology, different platforms. So we're going to be concentrating on using our VLE, Blackboard, and Microsoft Teams. Those are quite similar in some of their functionality, but in other ways they are different. So we're making sure, for instance, that our staff, our lecturers, fully understand the different capacities of those two platforms, but that also we'll be putting in place kind of training, advice, and guidance for our students as well, so that you kind of know the difference between them, and that if you're having maybe a class in Teams, you know how to make best use of that technology. If you're having a class in the VLE and Blackboard, likewise. So when thinking about software and access to software, it also kind of comes together with the whole, you might say, digital offer that we're pulling together. We're really well aware that you need access to these various forms of software, as well as various forms of study materials, books, materials, etc. It's our priority to make sure that you can get that access so that you can learn effectively and really, study as successfully as possible.
I can add to that as well, Jackie. We also have, you will have access to what we call digital partners. These are people who can support you through your studies in any application of software. So they'll help you through that, right through your study period, from start right through to finish.
That's very helpful, thank you. So now on to the next question. So this one's from Laura. So does DMU have a contingency plan in case of a second wave? My course cannot be done effectively online, fine art. So what would happen?
So this is such a good question. And the short answer is yes, that's what we are thinking about. What would our plan be? What would our contingency plan be? So we think about when we went into the national lockdown in a very unexpected way. It did hit a lot of students and courses differently. And we do have quite a few courses at DMU, like fine art courses, where normally students would be in a studio or a workshop working with materials. And even NAIF's course in drama, you would be in the performance space. You'd be working together in groups to perfect your dance concert or your play or your performance in that kind of group way. We do need to be thinking about this. And I'm going to be starting to work with colleagues on that. Our priority has been to plan for the coming year to make sure that we can make it work as effectively as possible. But we always do have to have at the back of our mind that we may find ourselves in a second wave and in a second lockdown. We can't just leave students to kind of fend for themselves in that situation. So there is not a whole lot of specific answers that I can give you about how exactly it would work. But what I can say is that we're definitely thinking about what we might do. And again, you would be able to get, I think, some more specific answers about some ways in which that might work if you go to your faculty live streams. That would be in the Arts, Design, and Humanities faculty.
So just to add to that, and with my course in particular, we could all go down different strands. And for my dissertation, I did concentrate on a fine art strand. So I did large scale installation work. So for example, this is working with lots and lots of materials and creating sculptures and things that are larger than life. So as you can imagine, when you're at home, it's a little bit difficult to gather all your materials and put them in place. Although it was different and it was challenging, it was possible, and I will vouch for that. I worked really, really hard to do it at home, and I had a different space. Although I wasn't in a studio and I didn't have the same things with me, I did have a back garden, and it wasn't the same, but it did work. And And just to give you some like hope for that, I came out with a really good grade. So if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it. And it's different, but it is possible.
That's really great advice, Neve. Thank you. So now moving on to the next question. So this one's from Patricia again. So when will students be able to move into their student accommodation? I'll come over to you, Umesh, for this one.
Absolutely, no problems. Ordinarily, students have a sort of a intake weekend of the 24th or 25th of September. But we recognise that it could be large numbers of students coming in on campus at the same time. So we've extended this period of a 2-week period, so students can come in anytime they want from the 20th of September onwards. Most of our providers and our partners are operating a online booking system where you'll be able to book online and then pick a spot and a date and a time when you want to arrive, so that you can make sure that you're arriving when there isn't a big sort of influx of students coming in, and it's done in a safe and controlled manner. So do look at our website, lots more information on accommodation there, and when you've selected the accommodation you want to go to, there'll be more information about how you can book the exact slot where you want to turn up to make sure actually it's done in a controlled and safe manner.
Thank you for your answer again there, Umesh. That's really, really useful and really good to know for all of our future students who are wondering about accommodation. So on to the next question, please. So will I get face-to-face contact time with academics? I'll come to you, Jackie, for this one, if that's okay.
Sure, yes, and absolutely, yes, you will. So that may take the form of online face-to-face contact time, where you would make an appointment, for instance, with your personal tutor, who is not necessarily somebody who will be teaching you in your modules, but somebody that will be assigned to you specifically to offer you advice and guidance of a pastoral and also of a general academic nature. Sometimes that personal tutor is somebody who actually teaches on your program and then can give you more specific support as well. So you can have the opportunity to have face-to-face contact with your personal tutor. There will be an opportunity to have face-to-face contact time with your module leaders and your seminar tutors, for instance, as well as just in the learning space, so in the online learning space or in the face-to-face on-campus space. So there will definitely be face-to-face contact time as part of your learning in the autumn.
That's great. Thank you for your answer there, Jackie. And the next question is, what safety measures have you put in place to ensure you're protecting my health and well-being? So can we go to Umesh first, just to talk about campus, and maybe then someone else can jump in as well for this one?
Sure, not a problem at all. Clearly, we're following government guidelines and best practice as to what needs to happen as the minimum. So in terms of the actual campus itself, we've already started a process of doing enhanced cleans across all our buildings to make sure that we're wiping down touch points on a more frequent basis, make sure there's no issues there at all. We've started putting safety measures on in our buildings. So there's signage and tape and barriers to allow students to safely make sure they observe physical distancing in corridors, circulation space, and also in all the teaching spaces as well. Other areas, we put adequate general signage up in terms of how to use lifts and how to use toilet facilities and kitchens and all those example areas as well. There's hand sanitizer provision stations to all our entrances to all our buildings. They've been installed and in place as well. And we've also actually made sure there's actually sanitizer provisions in various specialist spaces throughout all of our buildings as well. And this will be used together with washing hands on a more frequent basis to support that. Physical screens have been erected where you have sort of student advice centres and open reception areas to protect students and staff as well, and we'll be looking at face masks and face coverings as well in the next few weeks to see how we can use that to increase that students. In terms of more local level provisions within faculties and departments, those areas, if you go into their own websites and live streams, they can talk to you more about exactly what they're doing in their practical spaces. But please rest assured, your safety is our first paramount. In terms of student accommodation, we're also doing similar things there as well, making sure there is adequate signage and safety measures in place. There'll be guidance notes. We're providing additional cleaning materials in bathrooms and in kitchen areas. We're increasing our cleaning ourselves that we're doing in those spaces as well, so that we can make sure that we're fully compliant. And we are following at all times government guidelines. I need to make sure that we're absolutely crystal clear. And obviously last week when the government announced that we could start looking to open gyms and leisure centres, we're now working with the relevant sporting agencies and bodies to understand exactly what needs to happen so that we can open up our leisure centres and our gyms and our playing fields, certainly from the start of term as well.
I would just add that in thinking about your teaching, we have basically recalibrated our thinking about every single one of our teaching rooms on campus. And all of those rooms have been sort of reviewed to figure out the safe number of people that we can fit into those rooms. So you may well find yourself learning in small group learning in a pretty big room, because we want to make sure that we can observe the right kinds of social distancing, that we can get in the right kinds of ventilation, and that it's safe to get students and staff in and out of the rooms and in and out of the buildings as well.
Thank you very much, both of you, for answering that question for us. So on to the next question, please. Okay, this one's from Freya. So, will there be any access to computers on campus, as my laptop can't handle the software needed for my course, media production? If not, how would this be helped? So I'll come to you, Pete, for this one, if that's all right.
Yes, that's fine. So another good question. Yes, and it is recognised that an individual student's laptop may not have the capacity to be able to run some of the software that we provision, and media production is a very good example. So what I touched on earlier on was this virtual access. So what it means is that you don't use the power of your laptop to access the software. What you're doing is remoting into the actual building and PCs that are held in that building with all the relevant software, and you're running that software locally on that machine. And if that's software that requires graphics capability, the graphics cards are installed on those PCs in those spaces. So you're not reliant at all on the computing power of your home PC. So it's a little bit technical, but I hope that answers the question.
I can also say that there will be library machines available as well, so, safely spaced and distanced, but you can have access to specialist machines in the library as well.
And that's really great to hear. Thank you. I actually did media production myself a few years ago, and I can definitely confirm the machines in the library will run those programs that you need perfectly. Okay, so on to the next question, please. So what is happening with sports and societies? Will I be able to take part in activities? So should I come to you, Jackie, for this one?
I'll try, though Umesh, I think, might be able to help as well.
Sure.
So the Students' Union is remaining active, and the sports and the societies that you can join through the Students' Union, you'll be able to find out more about during our welcome activities in the first week or so, as we are reassembling in late September. We want to make sure that these are still available for students to take part in. It might be a little different, it won't necessarily be exactly the same, but the sports and societies through the Students' Union are still there. And I would say that to be honest, I'm not quite sure if there will be specific Students' Union information on these live streams, but I'm sure that if you go to the university website and to My DMU Future, you can pick up some more information there about our offer. But I think Umesh might be able to say a little bit as well about sports.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, we're constantly reviewing what the government are saying about leisure centres and sports facilities. And, until recently, there was a clear no-no. So we had no provisions. But as of last week, they've given a green light to open up sports facilities and societies as well. So what we are doing now is working with the DSU, working with the sporting bodies to see exactly what's permissible, what isn't. And as Jackie said, there will be some changes, some differences, but as many of the sporting activities that we can get back up and running, we will be doing that. So bear with us, and there will be more information on our websites. But rest assured, there will be sports and societies taking place in next term.
Thank you both for your answers there, and thank you to whoever sent that question in as well, because sports and societies are a big part of your student experience here at DMU. So shall we have a look at the next question? Okay, so this one's from Bethany. So when will libraries be open? I'll come to you, David, for that one.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, we're planning to phase libraries open. So over the next few weeks, as soon as we're allowed to, we'll open the libraries for click and collect to enable people to collect hard copy books and papers. What we'll be doing is opening from the start of term, and we'll be open right through.
Fantastic, thank you. And this one is from Ethan. So what sort of broadband speeds would be required for this? Okay, so should I come to you again, Pete, for that one?
I assume that's related to the previous question about lab access. It's a very, very good question. Typically, minimum specification for broadband is around 8 meg, and that would be more than enough to support a link to a virtual environment, because again, you're using all of the compute power that exists within the lab and not reliant at all upon your home internet system for the processing power. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks a lot for that one, David. Okay, another question here. So what support is available for international students? I'll come to you, Jackie, for that one.
Okay, so we are really aware that different parts of the world are undergoing their own different forms of difficulty and disruption, and our international office is really keen to be able to offer support, advice, and guidance to any of our international students and international student applicants. So your first protocol would be going to the international office and asking exactly this question. But all the support that we have available for our home students is available for international students as well. And in addition, we are thinking about what might happen when you arrive in the country. As Umesh was saying, if you do have to go into quarantine, then we will support that as well as we can through our own halls. And we're thinking as well about what might happen if you join us, but in a way you have to join us virtually. So if it's not possible to return to the country, this is another reason why we're offering the virtual versions of our online provision, so that you can pick that up in that kind of virtual version. You can click into the timetabled online live teaching that we have, and of course the pre-recorded lecture teaching will also be available for international students. So we've got a really active international office that is really thinking about the needs and requirements of students coming from a whole variety of different parts of the world. And I would say, go straight there if you've got these questions. But we try to keep really closely in mind that many of our different student populations are going to have very specific needs and very specific requirements, and we want to try to address all of those as much as possible.
Thank you for your answer there, Jackie. That's really helpful. Okay, so this one is from Mohammed, and it says, is there a Freshers Week due to COVID-19? Should I come to you again, Jackie, for that one?
Yeah, so there will be a version. So it's like with so many of these things, we want to do as much as we can, but we can't do it all in exactly the same way. So we will be having a welcome week, and indeed we'll be having some welcome activities starting as early as the 20th of September, because that's when we will be opening our halls, as Umesh was saying. And so there will be a variety of online versions of what we would normally do during welcome week. We can't necessarily give you an online version of what it means to, have a particular sort of introductory party or something like that. But as much as we can to make you feel welcome and to give you that sense of really joining in a really vibrant and dynamic student cohort, then that is being planned for as much as we're planning for your academic experience coming up. So again, the Students' Union is being really active with this. Our Student Support Office is also working very hard on this. And so, as I say, while it won't be exactly the same kind of Freshers Week, there will be welcome activities, and they will be in place to give you both the academic grounding that you need, but also the social grounding that you need, so that you feel fully a part of your new life and what it means to be a student at DMU.
Yeah, just to add to that, Although it may not be the same, we do have certain things that I think will still be really interesting to do, such as like societies. In Freshers, the big thing of Freshers is trying out different societies and meeting new people and just experiencing that whole social aspect. During the lockdown, we changed our societies to an online version. So for example, I'm in the dance society, and we decided to move all our classes to online classes on Zoom. So I'm assuming during Freshers, we probably decided to do that as well. So all the classes will be online, where you can join in by putting your video on, or deciding not to put your video on and just following the class. As well as like evenings. So we did lots of games as well. So quiz nights as a big team, or just certain tasks. So each day we would have a new challenge and things like that. So there's always little things going off in the societies, like little competitions and stuff, but rather it being in real life, it'll be online. But that could still be really, really fun, and it's still a great way to meet people. And one thing with societies is people are so friendly, and people really, really want you to get involved. So although it may be different, it will be different in a good way.
Thank you very much for your answer there, Neve. Okay, so another question here. Is September intake going to be online instead of on campus? Should I come to you for Jackie and then maybe you, Mesh, about this?
Okay, so it's going to be a mixture. So we will have our pre-recorded online lectures. That's what would typically have been the very large group teaching, where there would have been 100 or a couple of hundred students in a single room. Those will all be pre-recorded and online. And then every week there will be live online teaching that will be timetabled, but there will also be every effort made to have as much weekly on-campus teaching as possible. What we're doing right now is still working through the details of that, but we want to make sure that every student has the ability and the opportunity to have some kind of weekly on-campus teaching. So it's not going to be a thoroughly online experience at all. It's going to be blended. It's going to be a mixture of online and face-to-face. It's going to be a mixture of pre-recorded and timetabled, but there will be opportunities for every student to learn in an on-campus capacity as well.
That's great, thank you, Jackie. And the DMU campus is absolutely beautiful as well, so you've just got to see it. So on to the next question, please. Okay, so is there a chance we will go back to physical lectures sooner if the situation improves in the next academic year? Should I come to you for this one, Jackie?
Yeah. So again, the kind of thing that we would call lectures, where you do have these many hundreds of students, we have decided that those will be online for the whole of next year, because we wanted to be able to make the best possible use of the rooms on campus for other forms of teaching. Now, we're reviewing this constantly, and we would all love to be back to what you might consider normal, the regular way in which we want to be together on campus. If we get to that point in the coming year where we can do that, we will be doing that. And what we're doing right now is planning very specifically for our first term, and at the same time doing our kind of closer to the time planning for the second term. So if we find ourselves in a position after Christmas in the new year where things have improved to the point that we can go back to normal, that is where we would want to do that. Now, those big lectures will stay online all year, but what it would mean is that we could do more on-campus teaching for other forms of learning other than big lectures. A lot will just depend on what happens in the world, in this country. Everything will depend on what we're permitted to do and required to do by our governments, and in order to make sure that we do feel safe and that our health and well-being is always primary in our considerations.
Absolutely, thank you, Jackie. So we do have just over 5 minutes left of the live stream, so if you have any more questions that you do want to get in, do put them in the comments now, and we might still be able to squeeze that in for you. So shall we go on to the next question, please? Okay, so how will I be able to access my online lectures? Will they be timetabled? I think that's another one for you, Jackie, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the pre-recorded lectures won't be timetabled, but we're going to make sure that they are always available for every student at a specific time of day, at a specific day of the week, the week before you need them. I hope that makes sense. I didn't explain it very well. But if you need the material, say in week 2, then it will be available, pre-recorded and uploaded by a specific day in week 1, so that you will always know when it is available for you. The kinds of teaching that we call live, so where you have to be somewhere or even at the other side of your computer, say Tuesday at 10, that kind of thing will be timetabled. And your timetable will be released, I believe it is towards the, I don't want to give the exact date because I'll get it wrong. It'll be very early in October, but before the 5th of October, so before that Monday of your first week, so that you know exactly when your live teaching is going to be timetabled. So it's a kind of a combination. Those pre-recorded lectures will always be available by a certain time of day on a certain day of the week, ahead of the time that you need them. Your other forms of teaching will be timetabled.
Thank you, Jackie. How will I be able to access the Kimberlin Library and other study spaces on campus? So I'll come to this one to you, Dave, if that's all right.
Great, thank you. Yes, in the normal way, really. We're planning to be open and accessible, obviously practicing physical distancing and making that safe for you and for the staff that are there. But yes, you'll be able to access the library, use it, and make use of not only the study spaces, but we have a cafe, single occupancy rooms, postgraduate room, and access to special collections as well. So all of the facilities will be available. We'll just be practicing very safe use of the study space.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, some of our study spaces are maybe a little bit smaller than other of our study spaces. And so we're also now thinking about the best way to let you know if they have room in them. So what we don't want to be is in a situation where you don't know whether or not you can get into a study space, because when you reach it, it might be full and then we can't let you in. So we're thinking about ways in which we might be able to put up some kind of a booking system, so that if you do need to access these kinds of spaces, you know whether or not you'll be able to get into them. So much like in certain restaurants, for instance, now you do just have to book ahead, and that makes sure that you get a table. We're thinking about the ways in which we can make sure that if you need access to a study space, and it's not the kind where you might be able just to kind of flow in, flow out, that we arrange some kind of booking system for you. So that work is not finished yet, but it will be finished by the time you arrive.
That's great. Thank you both, David and Jackie there. So I think we've got time for one more question. Yeah, okay. So this one says, do I need to wear face masks on campus? Should I come to you for this one, Umesh?
Hi, yes, thank you. That's a good question. So the short, long answer is yes in some areas and no in other areas. So we'll make it clear where you will need to wear face masks. The government has stipulated that any areas that we have where we are abiding by the 1 meter plus distancing rules, they advise strongly that you wear face masks. And all those teaching spaces will have signs on the doors that says 1 meter plus distancing, and also please wear a face mask as you enter these rooms. There'll be some areas which will be 2 meter distance and you don't need to wear a face mask, so it'll be optional for students to look at that. At the same time, it'd be a choice, certainly as you're walking around the campus. The mood at the moment across the country is that recommending more and more people do wear face masks or more on a regular basis, certainly if you're going out shopping, etc., and into retail areas. So I think the answer would be more and more students will be wearing face masks on campus, yes.
Thank you, Umesh, for your answer there. So I think that's all we've got time for today. So thank you everyone so much for your questions in the comments. And of course, thank you to our lovely panel here today. You've been brilliant answering questions and telling us all about the exciting Your DMU Future. So you can find out more about Your DMU Future and more about the next academic year on our website at dmu.ac.uk/Your DMU Future. So we hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for joining us today. We'll hopefully see you in the autumn. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.